Okay, this time I'm looking at a kind of request. He-Man and the Memory Stone, published by Ladybird Books. Ladybird Books were an English company that published, well, mostly books for children. I think they were small in-house for somebody else, I can't remember who. But they probably weren't. Anyway, what is interesting about this book, apart from the fact it's an adventure game book for young people, so it's this simple, it is written by Jason Kingsley. Now, he wrote a couple of other things. He wrote the adventure game books DLI and The Lost Magic, which I'm sure I've heard of if I don't have it. What is interesting about Jason Kingsley is that in '92, he and his brother created a company called Rebellion Developments, which eventually went on to become just called Rebellion. Basically, because they earned enough money doing some games for Atari to buy 2000 AD. And carry on doing a lot more stuff. But yeah, he just wrote a couple of adventure game books in the 80s, and yeah, he's apparently 18 when he wrote them, according to his brother. And it's quite interesting, because yeah, the Ladybird He-Man books followed their own continuality. That's, well, basically the Ladybird continuality, featuring a number of differences from various things going on. And I've got a bit of a history with He-Man, the Masters of the Universe. Never really too keen on the cartoon. In the later New Adventures I thought was better, but I'm just gonna. But I love the toys and the early comics and books and stuff like that, which feature a completely different storyline. I mean, later on, I think they really butchered things when they kind of toned stuff down, which they thought would be more adult. It's like, if you go through the original mini-comics, the first appearance of He-Man, and that's off, he's this leader of a barbarian tribe. Simple as that. And he ends up saving the sorceress, which is technically the goddess at that point. Gets these special things like the power harness and sword and stuff. And he's fighting against Skeletor, an evil being from another dimension, who's trying to cross over into Eternia and wants to bring the rest of his squad and take over. Later on, they started hinting with backstory of Skeletor that, oh, he's not what he seems. And had this big storyline of, oh no, if we find the secret of what happened to King Randor's brother, that will spell the doom of Skeletor. And then you found out, no, it won't. It's just Skeletor is the king's brother. By this point, they retcon He-Man into being the king's son with a mother from Earth. Yes, because his mother was a space woman who came to Eternia from Earth with a few other people, and it got a bit silly and stupid, but it's what it is. But the original toys, I do think a lot of modern toys are really insulting them. I mean, to get the oval-sized muscles and stuff like that, they had to do a lot of fighting and did a lot of things outside how they're different from other toys at the time. And nowadays, they're just the same as other toys of that. And okay, this can get long and rambly, but just this. Big fan of the toys, fan of the original comics and stuff like that, but the really original comics. Over time, found they just kind of lost their way and never found the cartoon much. Right. This book also says supposed to be devised by Roger Hurt, and I've got no idea who Roger Hurt is. But by devise, he might have just said, here's a basic idea, we want to do this story. Don't know. The illustrations are by Judith Wood and David Glenn, who were actually commissioned to do this, because it points out they are of Hurston Design Limited. Which I'll probably flash link online saying who Hurston Design Limited are, because I got no idea. And by look at this copyright date, this book came out in 1985. Now, nice little bit, we got a whole page telling you how to play the game. You need a pencil and an ordinary 6-sided dice. And also there's this big chart here, which gives you enough for quite a few games. He-Man starts off with 12 life points. Each time you get hurt, you lose a life point. When you get to 0, you're dead. So there's a nice little chart for that. And yeah, I think the rest of it will just come. I mean, the cover artwork is not the best. I mean, even for the standards of the time, it looks... I mean, Beastman image is not terrible, but the He-Man one is just awful. And it's also weird that it is very much the big He-Man and the Memory Stone instead of Masters of the Universe, He-Man and the Memory Stone. The Masters of the Universe logo is used lower down, but it is a bit weird how it's presented. And the He-Man logo is based on some of the... I was going to say it's based on some of the early versions of the logo, which were used at times. But I've also noticed it's been badly drawn. The tops of the letters are drawn to if they're 3D. The bottom of the letters aren't, they're drawn as flat. So it looks really, really weird. I mean, I know Ladybird was a cheap company. I mean, this was 90p when it came out. In 90p in 85. I mean, what is that? That's the equivalent of £3 now. You would not be able to buy a book this size for £3. You should be able to, but you will not. Yeah. Nowadays you'd probably be like £5. Anyway. As I've got everything I need, I might as well carry on with the story. Again, the intro is just simple. You start off with 12 life points and how to play. And because of the way it's done for kids, it's a lot of nice pictures. And these pictures actually are a bit better than the cover. But I'll go for each one. Right. Deep under Snake Mountain, deeper than even Skeletor had dared to go before, the slave Skelecons had found a cavern. They immediately summoned their master. And already have to explain what things are. Right, if you know nothing about He-Man, you know Skeletor, big bad guy, just stick with that. Now, the Skelecons were a race that were exclusive to the Ladybird books. Basically, they kind of look similar to Skeletor in that they got blue skin and they got skull heads, but their heads are more kind of goat skulls, maybe ram skulls. I say goat skulls or sheep because they've also got horns, and then they wear a complete fur jerkin. But I said they were completely exclusive to the Ladybird books, and which is weird because ultimately these things are to sell toys, and it's not really selling the toys if you feature characters that never appeared in any toys, but they appeared all over the Ladybird books. Right. Skeletor rushed through the mines, down towards the newly unearthed cavern. At last! We have found it! The brain-draining stone truly exists! Pushing aside his gibbering servants, he entered the small chamber. Now, to put an end to that laughable buffoon He-Man, I will suck his mind dry! Skeletor raised his energy blade until the tip almost touched the small grey stone in the centre of the chamber. With an evil cackle, the Lord of Destruction set about the task of draining He-Man's mind. But unknown to him, the stone was not perfect, and its brain-draining powers missed their mark. Instead, they struck man-at-arms. Okay, I'll just explain a few bits here. Right, his energy blade was... Originally, Skeletor had two weapons. His Thunder Sword, which only appeared in some of the early comics, and half of the Power Sword. Now, the idea of Power Sword was... Again, as a sword, it's quite a powerful one idea, it was, that he had half, and He-Man had half. And if they put the two halves together, you could unlock and take control of Castle Grayskull. Because Castle Grayskull is the ultimate thing that neither side, well, both sides want to own. Which is why the toy, when you got the He-Man toy, you got the Power Swords, and you got clips on the back because it's only half a sword. You got the Skeletor one, you can actually put the two half the swords together, which works as a key to open Castle Grayskull. Of course, there's other ways to open that door, but that's the main thing. You use the two swords together. And you came with a flag that could show who's in charge at that time, the good guys and the bad guys. Because it's not designed to be for either side. It's this big major thing. Well, actually, when they were designing it, it did lead to part of the change in He-Man backstory with the demon or monster pits where Skeletor had gone in there and they'd warped him after his mother, a gypsy, had thrown him in there and that stuff and all this stuff. Which is not too bad storyline, building that, but that's before this, a lot later stuff. Before this Prince Adam and yeah, not great stuff. Right, Man-at-Arms was another figure in the range. The idea was, at first, he was very much looking like a conquistador, but as a bit of technology. He was a mechanic who scavenged the wastelands of the former kingdoms because something had happened and this huge war. Something had happened and the huge war had thrown this world back into the Dark Ages. So he was scrapped around the world, picking up bits of the former technology, bashing them together and learning how to use them and reproduce them type of thing. So that's why, He-Man's very much in it for a mixture of the Conan-style barbarian stuff with futuristic technology. It's fused together. Over time, again, the retcons just made it all weird and didn't make any sense at all, really. And Man-at-Arms went from being this mechanic who scrapped things together to the Sergeant at Arms in the Royal Guard. Very dull and boring and weird. But at first, mostly, he was a mechanic, good at repairing stuff and scavenging parts. Yeah. In Castle Grayskull, Man-at-Arms was busy repairing and recharging the energy weapons when the black beam struck him like a shadowy hand. He fought strongly, but the ancient stone's power, forged by who knows what foul creature, succeeded in sucking his memory dry. He could no longer remember anything. Skeletor was furious. He had seen what happened through his video lens. "Balls!" he shouted as the Skeletons hid in the deep shadows, afraid of their master's anger. "I shall still destroy He-Man. Without Man-at-Arms to repair and invent their weapons, their castle is defenseless." Back at Castle Grayskull, everyone crowded around Man-at-Arms. They soon realized what had happened. Stratos had caught a glimpse of the beam with his super-sensitive eyes. Stratos is a really weird one. He was technically originally created as a villain, but then really quickly changed to be a hero. They did do like the one odd story where he thinks he's a villain, but he ends up becoming a hero because he realizes that, but they kind of then forgot about that. The idea was he was a hairy bird man, literally. Yeah, he's come from a floating city, so he got wings so he can fly, and yeah. The hairy bit was reuse of parts. Delegate Master of the Universe toy line was very famous for reuse of parts. Partly at first, they didn't know it was going to be successful. So, the amount of parts you can reuse cuts the bill greatly. Even when it got successful, Mattel was still not happy with spending more money than they had to on the line. And later on, they did figures that were almost completely just old bits put together. Or occasionally old bits put together with a new head. But that still actually was a good thing about the figures. They still did a lot of good stuff with what they're doing. And sometimes you got to have the limits to really come up with the genius stuff. But yeah. "There is nothing else that can be done," said He-Man quietly. "We have no other means of transport. All our machines are useless without the expert men-at-arms to maintain them." Okay, that's a bit weird. They still have their machines, even if you can't have somebody maintain them. It's just they're useless once they get damaged. But, okay. "While you all remain here to protect the castle from attack, I must go with Battle Cat and the trusty Power Blade to recapture his memories." Yeah, you can tell this is for kids because this is very simply explain the story. Okay, Skeletor knows what this stone is. Fine. He then thinks he can activate by his sword. Fine. But there's a problem in the stone and it doesn't do one thing. That's all fine. I've got no problem with that. Stratos had seen the beam and suddenly knows what this ancient thing is and knows what they have to do and all that stuff. And he went and says, "Oh yeah, I know what everything's about. I'm going to do it." Yeah, doesn't quite work. Battle Cat was originally a giant cat that He-Man basically befriended and he could ride him in the battle. Later on, he was a giant scaredy cat called Cringer, who He-Man basically forced to become a brave warrior. Very nasty guy doing because he really did not want to do this, and he's forcing him into it all the time, and yeah, it's weird. And yeah, the figure was again, one of the really cheap Mattel things. It was actually a tiger from an earlier toy line. I think first appeared in their Tarzan toy line. Now, Tarzan figures were much bigger. They're like 12-inch figures compared to the He-Man's 8-inch figures. So originally it was a normal scaled tiger. They just coloured it green, put some stripes on it, and then made up a new piece of armour. One bit to go over the head and one bit to be a saddle so that He-Man could ride him now. Yeah, it had absolutely no posability whatsoever. Just a static brick. They later recovered it in flock and sold it as Skeletor's giant cat he could ride into battle. Again, the original way, storylines, like in all the box art, there was a whole bunch of these giant cats. So anyone could have a giant cat around the battle. Later on, it very much became, there's only the one. And you got, again, there's all the weird changes over time. Again, the Power Blade is He-Man's version of the Power Sword. Interesting, I call it blade rather than sword. I don't remember about the others. Oh, we've got a number of the old Ladybird ones, but I don't remember what they called it in that. But fair enough, it's clearly a sword. Right. Now, He-Man's got a choice. I can decide to leave right away, or wait until nightfall. I don't necessarily think time is of the essence right now, so I'll wait till nightfall. That way I can sneak in. Before we go through this page, the artwork. Again, yes, I said it's not too bad. Skeletor's face is a bit iffy, like somebody's gone over it with a thicker pen afterwards. But it's Skeletor pointing his sword at the stone with 3 of the Skelecorns looking on. Yeah, fair enough, does the job. Describe what's in there. Perfect, no problem. Alright, next section. While He-Man gets ready for his great task, Stratos, Lord of Avion, takes to the air to search the area for dangers. It is dusk when he returns. Through the thick leaves, I saw Beastman and a band of large creatures heading this way along the road. Leaping to his feet, He-Man mounts Battlecat and they race over the drawbridge into the night. The drawbridge is literally the jaw bridge because front of Castle Grayskull is a giant skull. The jaw comes down as a bridge. So, yeah. Okay. The artwork on this section doesn't apply to this section, so that's no problem. Right, now I've got another choice. He-Man can follow the road through the forest. I can tell Battlecat to plunge through the undergrowth. Or decide to walk alongside Battlecat. Yeah, mount Battlecat, ride off into the night, and then decide to get off if you want to. Well, I've been warned that Beastman and large creatures are heading along the road. So, do I want to follow that road? If I follow the road, I'll come into them. Maybe good, maybe bad. If I plunge through the undergrowth close to the roadside, I can probably sneak past them. I'll go for the undergrowth. Battlecat's mighty muscles ripple with strength as he bounds through the thick undergrowth. Soon Battlecat catches sight of the hairy Beastman, swinging through low branches, which lead him deeper into the uncharted evergreen forest. The evergreen forest. They're in Canada. Does anyone want me to sing Run With Us? Again, information on the screen telling you what the hell I'm talking about. But, oh, I'd love a Adventure game book based on that. Yeah, I didn't know Eternia was Canada. Okay. Well, there was one theory where Eternia was actually Earth in the future, but they keep, again, don't bother. No, this. I think I was kind of get the idea that was the original idea. And then later on they said Eternia, when it was in the past, was called Preternia. But, okay, that more hints again the Earth thing, different names. But anyway. Right. I can tell Battlecat to speed up after Beastman, or I can think it might be a trap. This is interesting. Depending on the continuity and the style you're going in, Beastman's either incredibly stupid or relatively tactical thinker. Also, one of the original ideas after they come up with the whole He-Man's mother comes from Earth thing was the other people on the spaceship with her, included so-and-so Beastman, who had mutated and became Beastman. Yeah, most of the toys always show Beastman being part of a race of Beastmen with baboon-like face markings. Often gets confused as being war paint type thing, but it's generally more actually facial markings compared to some of the original designs, early designs. I think Beastman might be laying a trap, because I'm going to go with the slightly smarter version of Beastman. So I think it's going to be a trap. So I go to another section. Battle Cat agrees with He-Man. Yeah, Battle Cat can talk most of the time in most realities, so yeah. Battle Cat agrees with He-Man that Beastman is trying to lead him into a trap. He suggests that they split up and try to foil his plan by attacking from both sides at once. If He-Man decides to do this, turn to one section. If he wants to return to the road, remember that Castle Grayskull does not have much time, go to another section. But if Castle Grayskull does not have much time, I'm going to return to the road. We weren't technically there in the first thing. Leaving Beastman's trap behind, Battle Cat and He-Man head back to the road. These are very short sections, and there's a lot of them. But then that's kind of the point, it's a junior one. The road is well used and heads through the evergreen forest towards the wide grassy plains in the south. There, He-Man hopes to find even faster transport than the faithful Battle Cat, but there's still a long way to go. Yeah, I got the feeling that He-Man's not being very nice to Battle Cat. This is the later one, but yeah, I'm not going through the evergreen forest. Really. The dark night fades into cool dawn light as the turning sun rises over the distant hazy mountains. Soon the dense forest thins out, and the vast grassy south plain comes into sight. Dawn is shattered by a terrible screeching sound. He-Man turns, trying to fend off a hurling body with his shield. The creature jumps to its feet as Battle Cat's hair bristle in anger. A hideous monkey spider has dropped down on He-Man from its perch, high in one of the great trees. Looking like a large monkey with spider's legs coming from its body, it approaches, dripping poison on the ground. This sounds like Australia now, but everything's trying to kill you. It's called a spider monkey, and you have to describe, oh, it looks like a huge monkey with spider's legs. There's a picture of it, and kind of looks like... Hang on, I was going to say it kind of looks like a monkey, but I just noticed something. It's clearly not a monkey. I mean, arguably the face is kind of a bit ratty, but monkeys have tails. This is not a monkey, this is another kind of anthropoid. This is an ape. No wonder he wants to drip poison at you. He's not very happy that you're calling him a monkey when he's an ape. Right, and we get a first combat, I think. I get to roll a dice, and whatever my score is leaves one of 6 different options. And again, the picture shows the thing, dripping poison, that's like blood. It makes more sense than poison. And He-Man looking better than the cover. Not the most fantastic piece of artwork, but yeah, based on the figures, that's doable. Right, so I roll my dice. Boom. A 1. He-Man is bitten on the leg. That's annoying. I've been bitten on the leg. I got a feeling I'm going to be poisonous. Or poisoned, anyway. Battle Cat chases the foul creature away from He-Man. Take me back to Castle Grayskull, pants He-Man as the poison spreads through his body like fire. After He-Man has crawled onto his back, Battle Cat sets off towards the castle at great speed. The potion isn't fatal, but it will take some time before He-Man can undertake the journey again. Game over. Well. Yeah, whew. That is a quite interesting one. First combat, 1 dice roll, instantly game's over. Yeah, I'm going to try again, because this is pretty short, even for a short book, I just came over that easily. Yeah. But I'm gonna carry on waiting for nightfall, like I said in the first time. In fact, how far am I going to go back to? Because I'm just going to follow the same line. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the battle. Because I'm going to say I did exactly the same thing up until this giant ape monkey turned up. Not ape monkey, ape spider. Okay. Roll the dice again. And I've got a 4. What happens if I get a 4? He-Man wounds the creature badly. Add 2 to my next throw. Because apart from 2 options, you have to keep on rolling the dice until you get to the 6. Yeah. That adds 2 to my next throw. So, okay. Roll the dice. I've got a 3. I plus 2 to that. I've got a 5. He-Man knocks the creature out. Great. And by the looks of it, there's no way to actually get hurt apart from game over. Yeah. Leaving the spider monkey behind, He-Man and Battle Cat jog through the whispery grass, down a gentle sloping hillside onto the great southern plain. The creature I seek is a horse with a man's mind, though his human side is tempered with a horse's natural nervousness. He-Man turns to the great cat. The huge tiger nods in agreement. I understand, He-Man, he growls in reply. If you wish, I will return to Castle Grayskull. So, do I want to tell my friend to do this, or I don't want him to leave and continue deep into the plains? Right. We've got a human mind, it shouldn't really matter. And, oh god, you need a fast creature, so you want a half human, half horse thing. Weird. I guess what it's supposed to be referring to, but weird. Nah, I'll carry on with Battle Cat. Nice to have him along. He-Man decides that the creature he seeks will not be afraid of Battle Cat, so they continue across the dry, grassy plains. The sun climbs higher in the sky. In the distance, He-Man spots a tiny figure coming closer and closer. Soon, he is able to tell He-Man that it is Thunder Horse approaching quickly. The strange creature stops suddenly, snorting in the air, stamping its foot as it smells the cat. Now, Thunder Horse. That would be the Hang on, they weren't called Thunder Horse. I'm thinking what they're talking about is the robotic horse. Ah, oh, gotta remember his name. This is gonna bother me. What's the name of the robotic horse in Masters of the Universe? It's gonna come to me at some point. It was generally shown to be. They give it a double pack with Fisto, I think, later on. Strider. He's basically a robot horse. The idea would be armoured war horse, but he's clearly a robot. And a removable helmet, articulation on his legs, and a little gun off his back. It was not amazingly bad figure. It was really, again, it's one of these things that's a bit weird, which is what Master Universe were doing. It's like weird mixture of fantasy and sci-fi. But yeah, they later reached it in double pack with Fisto. Yeah, his official description was heroic armoured warhorse. Half warhorse, half war machine. Yeah. I'm assuming that's what they mean when they say Thunder Horse. Otherwise, I've got no idea who Thunder Horse is unless he's an original character. But the way they reference him is like you better know who he is. So, interesting. Right. Now, He-Man can tell Battle Cat to return to the castle or on call out to Thunder Horse. I will call out to Thunder Horse. I seem to know him. Thunder Horse, I bring you greetings from Castle Grayskull, shouts He-Man. I need your help to cross the sands of time. Thunder Horse doesn't reply. He stamps his foot and snorts at Battle Cat. He-Man knows that he will not come nearer while the huge green tiger remains there. Okay, I was wrong about Thunder Horse. There's a picture of him. He's a white horse with a giant flower on his neck. Yeah, Who? That's interesting. I would have used Strider or the horse actually just in Marvel, but okay. The picture is well, it's clearly a picture of a horse. They've got away with the problems of drawing horses' legs by having no legs. Oh, and again, it looks like he's missing a tail, but you could just say that's around the backside of his arse. Horses have big arses. Seriously, have you seen a horse's arse? Yeah. But there's a picture of a horse. But what you can say for that. Right. I think I have to tell Battle Cat to go away, especially if I'm going to be riding the horse. Battle Cat moves away as Thunder Horse comes nearer. He's still very nervous about Battle Cat, but he says, "It is a long time since we last met, He-Man. I'm glad to see you again." See, right now, you've seen He-Man before. You know who He-Man is. You're worried about his cat. That's weird. Alright. Thunder Horse, I don't think he popped up anything else. So he recognises the horse, he knows the horse. It's weird. "It is sad that we should meet only because the Skeletor is evil, my friend," replies He-Man. "Can you take me across the sands of time?" "It would be a pleasure, but I can go no further than the far edge of the desert. I cannot help you to find jungle." He-Man grips Thunder Horse's mane as together they set off for the deserts of desolation and the sands of time. It reminded me of one comment about the one fictional world that I tried to do a comic book, and it's the map of the world, and Goth came very early to this planet because everything's like the Lake of Despair and all this stuff. Yeah, I can see what you're getting at, but yeah, and Evergreen Forest is fair enough. But you then got the Desert of Desolation, the Sands of Time. Yeah, okay. So I'm now riding along on the horse. Trotty, trotty, trotty. A cloud of dust is seen across the vast grassy plain. Ahead of it gallops the fleet-footed Thunder Horse. Fleet-footed Thunder Horse is not something that they want you to say quickly or out loud. It's like fantasy names. Also, I'm just getting flashbacks to the Thunder Child. Quickly, the great grey dunes appear on the horizon. A scorching wind blows sand from their summits. The sand covers the grasslands, and Thunder Horse slows to a brisk walk as his hooves begin to disappear under the surface at every stride. Is this horse really quicker than a Battle Cat? So I'm kind of thinking the cat is probably better. Again and again, Thunder Horse and He-Man climb the steep side of a dune, only to see still more dunes ahead of them. The sun is getting low on the horizon when they reach the end. Of the dunes. Here, the sand is firmer, and He-Man leaps onto Thunder Horse's back, and they continue. I haven't even been riding the horse. The horse has been galloping along, and I've been walking alongside him. And this is quicker than riding Battle Cat. Okay, I can see why you went to own a video game company instead of writing for a living. It's getting a bit weird, the place, isn't it? Yeah. But it did say he was 18 when he wrote these. So. Over to his left, he sees an unusual cone-shaped hollow in the dry sand. Who sees it? I suppose if He-Man leaps onto Thunder Horse's back, is He-Man the current subject. Right. Does he want to investigate the hollow, or tell Thunder Horse to keep going? Investigate might be fun. However, it's probably more important to keep going so I can get to where I'm going. I'm going to take a side route and investigate it. Maybe it'd be a shortcut. These are the sands of time. Stay here, my friend, says He-Man to Thunder Horse. I will go and investigate. Carefully, He-Man approaches the edge of the deep pit. His sharp eyes catch sight of a dark, shiny object in its center. Do I decide to climb down and investigate? Kick some sand down the pit? Or give up and go back to Thunder Horse? I shall investigate. Because I am a curious He-Man. I listen to Charles Atlas. As soon as He-Man steps over the edge of the funnel-shaped pit, he begins to slide on the dry sand down towards its center. A huge beetle rears up at He-Man, its black jaws snapping. He-Man must fight for his life. There might be kind of a picture of it, but if that's a beetle, I have no idea what beetles are. I mean, it's obscured by a lot of stuff, but that's not a beetle. He-Man looks disgusted at it, and I don't blame him. Right. And I've got another battle time. Right, let's roll the dice. 1. The beetle bites He-Man badly. Subtract 2 life points. Well, 12 life points have now gone down to 10. Okay. Roll again. 2. The beetle swipes at He-Man with his claws. Lose 1. Oh, my life point's not going to go there. What's the next dice roll says? 6. Yay! He-Man swings mightily and the beetle disappears beneath the surface. Which sounds like Thunder Punch He-Man. Which was a He-Man figure where they put in the gun caps. You know, literally the same as the gun caps. You had a little reel. Each one contained a bit of gunpowder in the reel. You put it into the He-Man chest. And when he swings, it hits that, so he goes a snap. The same as the cap guns, you just go pop, the bust. Yeah, interesting ball. Interesting idea to get the big thunder punch, the sound of thunder, and came with an accessory that wasn't amazingly great, but there you go. The beetle sinks back into the sand. It wants an easy meal, not one that fights back. It disappears beneath the surface and then sinks into the sand. Okay. He-Man finally manages to scramble out of the rapid filling pit. He brushes himself down and approaches Thunder Horse. What was that thing? Asked the nervous creature. Some kind of man-eating beetle, replies He-Man. We'd better watch out for those pits. Let's get going. I got a feeling it's one of these, what they call them, ant lions. Which is always a weird, sounds like a fancy creature, isn't it, an ant lion. But they have, like, they're in the middle of big sand dune pits where they bring people in. I think that's what they were trying to be there. It's just, I don't know, I've never really come across the term antlion in England or English stuff. But I've seen it in foreign stuff and been referenced. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Master System, and by extension the Game Gear. The first boss was an robotic antlion. There's a major bit in the Moomins where it's about an antlion. It's actually drawn to be like an antlion. Yeah. Anyway, I'll carry on going now. Dusk approaches as Thunder Horse gallops across the burning sands towards He-Man's next obstacle, the vine jungle. As they rush along, spears of tough grass begin to appear, then green bushes and small thorn trees until they're at the edge of the thick, moist jungle. Thunder Horse stops. Here our ways must part, my friend. I can help you no more. I will return to my green plains. Thank you, replies He-Man. You are a true friend. With a whinny, Thunder Horse gallops off into the dim light. The jungle seems dim and eerie compared to the harsh heat of the desert, but He-Man must go on ahead through the steaming undergrowth. Bright birds flutter high in the trees, rainbow frogs hop away quickly, and monkeys chatter loudly, throwing twigs at one another. Roll a dice. Okay. 4. Turn to page 8. Okay, turn to the next section. The undergrowth gets denser, and He-Man starts to use the power blade to cut his way through the thick vines that block his way. Suddenly, one of the vines seems to grab his arm. He-Man is surrounded by coiling, grabbing vines. So each one he cuts with the power blade, 2 more drop down to take its place. Roll the dice and see what I got here. Oh, it doesn't look like any instant kills. That's good. Right, 5. He-Man holds his own against the vines, but cannot get free. Roll again. 2. He-Man is scratched by the thick vines. Lose 1 life point. Get him down to 8. Carry on going. 1. He-Man is being choked by vines. Subtract 1. See, He-Man, I remember him being like the most powerful man in the universe. I'm not getting killed by vines. 3. The vines squeeze He-Man. Okay, place for them, that. 5. I'm holding his own but can't get free. 4. I can hear cruel laughter from somewhere. 1. Lose 1 body point again. 4. The cruel laughter again. 2. Lose 1 body point again. Oh, come on. Am I going to be killed by vines? 1. Tripped by vines. I'm going to get killed by vines, aren't I? 4. Hear laughter. Come on, how many times I've rolled these dice to get a bloody 6 on them? 4. Cruel laughter again. 1. Vines again. Look, I'm going to change this dice because this is getting a bit ridiculous. 5. Holds on against the vines but can't get free. 5. Same again. 3. The vine squeeze, He-Man. 5. Can I get free? Oh, come on. Come on for 6. Seriously. Ah, finally a 6. I've lost most of my body points fighting against a bloody vine. With a mighty effort, He-Man cuts himself free. The powerful man in the universe. Hooray. Tearing himself free of the vines, He-Man rushes out of their reach. Roll dice again. Ooh. 2. Okay, what's that? What does 2 mean? Oh goody. The ground gives way under He-Man's feet as he sinks into quicksand in the jungle. Roll a dice. 1. He-Man's bitten by something. Lose 1 life point. Okay, if I die this time, I'm just asked it. Yeah. 5. He-Man grabs hold of a submerged root. Add 2 to the next throw. Ah, that's good. Aha, got 4. That adds 2, that's 6. Hey, I've pulled myself out. He-Man, the weakest man in the universe. With the slimy quicksand dripping off him, He-Man pulls himself out of danger. Cleaning the worst of the muck off with a couple of broad leaves, he continues through the jungle, keeping a careful lookout for any more quicksand. Soon he reaches a clearing. At the centre of the clearing is a small village surrounded by sharpened poles. Parts of these defences have been smashed down. He-Man moves closer. In the centre of the ring of mud huts is the foul creature Whiplash, an evil reptile and servant of Skeletor. He's attacking the small pygmy people. He-Man shouts out a challenge to Whiplash. Whiplash was quite an interesting toy. Again, like a lot of them, he had the twisting waist. But this one, he had a long rubbery tail. So the idea is when he twists, the tail flashes. Okay, it's quite a nice fun toy. A lot of He-Man ones, especially early on, had a lot of fun gimmicks. Because you need to search fresh and then fun gimmick. Yeah, it works well. Whiplash turns angrily and thrashes his massive tail. He charges at He-Man, knocking several pygmies aside. Roll the dice. Oh, great. Let's see if I got a chance here. 4. Whiplash is wounded by He-Man's power blade. Add 1 to your next roll. Good, can I get 5 next time? 2. Add 1, 3. He-Man jumps over the tail as it thrashes about. 3. He-Man jumps at the tail. 1. He-Man's back by Whiplash's tail. Subtract 1 life points. Well, I'm only down 1 now. I lost almost my life points dealing with those bloody vines. 6. Hey, that's kind of get a 6. I got 6 last time, but yeah. Right, Whiplash is knocked out. The tiny pigmans rush to thank He-Man as Whiplash lies on the trampled floor. He-Man tells them to tidy up Whiplash with some jungle vines. He-Man tells them to tie up Whiplash with some jungle vines. May we help? Asks the chief pygmy, his bone necklace rattling. Yes, indeed, replies He-Man. If you could take me to the edge of the jungle, it would be a great help. A large band of pygmies, armed with small spears and blowguns, lead He-Man through the jungle to the edge of a high cliff. Many hundreds of feet below begins the volcanic region which He-Man must cross to get to Snake Mountain, and the stone which holds Men-at-Arms' memories. He turns to thank the pygmies, but they have disappeared back into the jungle. Whew. Didn't know Snake Mountain was by some volcanic areas. Snake Mountain was the headquarters of Skeletor. Unlike He-Man, who didn't actually have a headquarters, as later on the Castle Grayskull was, Skeletor had his own one, Snake Mountain. And actually, being Snake Mountain, which doesn't really fit in with Skeletor, because he's not really a snaky theme. But Snake Mountain is a nice bit like a microphone projector, so you could talk into it, and it gives you a spooky voice, that kind of thing. But one of the nice bits about it is the backlore. Because later on they introduced they introduced a third faction to the He-Man series, not just the good and bad guys. They actually added about 4 factions in the end. But the main faction added afterwards was the Snake Men. Basically, they were the real rulers of Snake Mountain before Skeletor came in and ended up reawakening them. It actually works quite well. Right. There are several ways in which he could climb down the rocky cliff. If he decides to use the thick creepers that dangle over the edge, turn to one section. If he wants to climb down using the many hand and footholds in the rock, turn to another section. If he wants to search for an easier path, turn to another section. Considering my health is 1, easier path sounds nice. Right. He-Man explores the cliff edge for some time, but he cannot find a path downwards. Yay. I'm going to have to use the handholds, because I don't trust the creepers. Though the cliff has a powdery surface, it is fairly firm, and He-Man climbs down easily to reach a wide ledge. From here, a narrow pathway leads down towards the land far below. Do you want to follow the path? Climb down using the creepers, or continue down the rock face? Well, the path sounds nice. The path is very narrow and dangerous. Several times, parts of it collapse, sending rocks spinning down into the grey land below. Don't want to continue down this path? Climb down using the vines, or climb down using the rock itself. Well, sometimes this really forces you to go one direction, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm going to climb down the rock, already climbed down there. The crumbly rock becomes firmer, less eaten away by weather and the effects of plant roots. It wasn't crumbly in the first place. He-Man soon touches the bottom, relieved to have his feet firmly on the ground again. Here's a question. I've got a vehicle called the Wind Rider. I think it's Wind Raider, might be Wind Rider. It flies. If it gets damaged, I need Man-at-Arms to repair to do the maintenance. But before that, I can surely use it. It'll be a lot easier. Or I've got those little glider things I can ride on. Like the really cheap toys. I got one of those. He just literally rides on it, flies across the sky. Or Stratos can fly. Surely he can carry me. Whew. A thick layer of ash-grey soil covers this scorched land. Many volcanoes dropped, boiling lava and oily, evil-smelling liquid covers the landscape. He then walks towards the spiral dark smoke that marks the position of Snake Mountain. Roll the dice. 5. At every step, He-Man's feet cause a small cloud of ash to billow into the air, as if the land were burning once more. Suddenly, the ground gives way. He-Man plummets into darkness, landing in a pile of damp grey mud in a narrow tunnel. Above him, blue sky shines down through the gaping hole. Don't you try to climb out, or follow the tunnel? I'll follow the tunnel, because if there's a tunnel there, somebody or something must have dug it. The tunnel is low and dark, lit only by the occasional glowing rock. Sometimes the roof forces He-Man to crouch low. At other times it soars upwards at a great height. It is through one of these thin areas that He-Man fell into the tunnel. In the distance he thinks he can hear the faint sound of hammering, but it may be his imagination. No, I think it's going to be the faint sound of hammering. Suddenly, the faint hammering is replaced by a much louder noise. It is the sound of grinding or burrowing. Roll a dice. Yeah, you might as well have the dice here. Right, a 3. The sound becomes much larger as the tunnel wall begins to crumble away. Out comes a vast worm-like creature covered with heavy, faintly glowing armor plating and horns. And there's a picture of it here, and Robo Snake. No, more like Robo Worm. Yeah. That wouldn't be very good at moving through the dirt, because the horns sticking out upwards would actually be a huge impediment. They should be pointing forward or backwards, surely. Backwards would make more sense to be, you know. Right. Does He-Man want to remain still and let it pass, or want to attack it? I don't want to attack it. I'm almost dead from binds. I don't want to fight some armored horn. The horned worm. He-Man freezes, not with fear, but through caution. The creature has done him no harm yet. The giant armored worm eventually grinds its way through the other side of the tunnel and disappears, back to its own dark world. Carefully, He-Man digs his way through the tunnel and continues on his journey. He-Man hurries through the dark tunnel towards Snake Mountain. He knows that every second counts. After what seems like an age, he begins to hear sounds of mining more clearly. Soon he is rushing deeper and deeper into the mines. Well, at least I now know this tunnel leads to Snake Mountain. The Skeletons drop their mining tools and flee in terror at the sight of He-Man. If you ask Skeletor to drive them on, they are lazy and cowardly. At last, He-Man reaches the deepest parts of the mine and enters a small chamber. And there's kind of a picture of He-Man here looking very smug. And the Skeletons all running away. The memory-draining stone lies in the centre of the chamber. He-Man approaches carefully. Suddenly there is a flash, and out of a cloud of dark green, foul-smelling smoke steps Skeletor, Lord of Destruction. So, He-Man, you have come this far, but you will go no further. Prepare to die, he laughs. No, he laughs. Skeletor raises his Havoc Staff. That's one of the weapons I forgot about. His Havoc Staff is a long staff with a ram's head on top of it. It's quite a nice staff. Yeah. Skeletor raises his Havoc Staff. He-Man stands ready with the power blade drawn and shining with energy. And according to the picture, he's got his sword, his shield. That had been useful earlier on. Roll the dice. Oh dear. 4. He-Man punches Skeletor and wounds him. Add 1 to your next roll. Oh, it's going to be better than what I was before. 5. Ooh, +1, that's 6. He-Man knocks Skeletor unconscious with a blow from the mighty power blade. Finally, I've got a decent roll. With Skeletor laying unconscious on the floor of the chamber, He-Man rushes across to the small grey stone that has caused all this trouble. Raising the power blade high above his head, he then brings its magic edge slicing down into it. Slicing down? The power stone is actually meant to be in the ceiling. See, I saw it in the ceiling in that first image. See it on the first page. But yeah, the Skeletor raises his blade to touch it. The blade's in the ceiling. How can my sword go down on it now? Whew. Okay. The pebble bursts into hundreds of pieces, and Man-at-Arm's memory goes back to him over the many miles. Could have been lost, but okay. Take your bets. Back at Castle Grayskull, Man-at-Arm suddenly looks up. My memory! He shouts suddenly. It has returned! He-Man must have conquered Skeletor at last. At last? Maybe for the time being, but wait. Quickly, Man-at-Arm sets about repairing and recharging machines that have remained idle for so long. Armed with the newly working energy weapons, they make Skeletor's band of evil followers turn tail and flee. Foul creatures scatter into the countryside as bright blue laser beams flash towards them from the castle. When all is quiet once more, Man-at-Arms and Teela ride out in battle ram to rescue He-Man from Snake Mountain. Teela was originally the goddess/sorceress. Basically, yeah, it's the goddess/sorceress was split into 2 people, Teela being one of them. Later on, Teela was redone to be Man-at-Arms' daughter. And later, she was redone to be Man-at-Arms' daughter, with the sorceress. And she'll be the new sorceress later on. And again, weird changes. Battle Ram was one of the early vehicles they released. Which is, again, nice little bulky thing. Like a splitting, I think a splitting the front part come off or something. I can't remember now. But yeah, that's the thing. Right. They pick him up from the very top of the mountain where he stands in triumph. The dark and deadly side of Eternia is, for the moment, defeated. The Masters of the Universe are one step closer to total destruction of all that is evil. The end. Oh, there's not actually the end message. The artwork on this page just shows the sword smashing. It's not really much you can see. There is a problem. The name Masters of the Universe is always been a bit of debate. Personally, I'm of the camp that in the early stuff, it's He-Man. It's just called Masters of the Universe. The early stuff states that basically Skeletor wants to be the Master of the Universe. It would probably be more battle to find out who would be the Master of the Universe. Because, yeah, Skeletor wants to rule it. He-Man tries to stop him. So it's kind of, who's going to be the Master of the Universe? These are the really powerful characters. The cartoon was renamed He-Man and the Master of the Universe to play on the main character He-Man. Again, saying He-Man wasn't the Master of the Universe, because He-Man and the Masters. So again, the Masters always seem like a bad guy name. And then later on in the cartoon and stuff, Master of the Universe was named the good guys. The good guys rule the universe. That just sound a bit nasty to me. What do I think of this book? Well, again, it's simple, it's short, very short chapters. It's kind of enjoyable for the whole feel of it and everything like that. The dice rolling combat is pathetic, really. You're constantly rolling the dice until you get a 6, apart from a couple of times when you've got another option you could do. Other than that, you're just getting injured or nothing happens, roll again. So yeah, I got almost wiped out by those vines for just not getting a 6. Yeah. A quick flip through this book. There are more He-Man characters actually appear in it, because basically we met very little He-Man characters. I mean, you could argue Man-at-Arms, because that's the one we're saving. Stratos is mentioned. Versus He-Man, Battle Cat, Skeletor, get past Beastman. Thunder Horse, I got no idea what Thunder Horse is. It's not even a character. It's not even She-Ra's horse. But if I flip through this, Evelyn pops up one point. Oh. Evelyn pops up one point and challenges you to a quiz. Yeah. Which basically casts a spell and you've got to answer, what was the chief pygmy wearing? Okay, right. That's something about power levels, isn't it? Again, Evelyn, they later said, was one of the people on the ship from Earth with He-Man's mother. So I wonder how old she's meant to be. So that. In the film, that was actually, a lot of people say the live action film wasn't that good. It was actually quite accurate to some of the earlier He-Man, taking on its own take. Most people complaints that I see is, oh, there's no Prince Adam, there's no King of Thing that. Of course it's not based on that. It's based on the He-Man, the toy line, this stuff that. And on the whole, it's a really good film. And what's her name? I can't remember her name. She plays Evelyn really well. Really good at playing Evelyn in that. In some bits of the film it could be better, but on the whole, it's quite a solid film. Webster pops up a bit late at one point. He was a half Spider-Man type creature. Came with a winch on his back, like a webbing line, so you could tie it around something and you could swing off it, like a spider. Yeah. So yeah, he would have popped up. Stratos pops up another point. He helps you out for a bit. Okay. Yeah, Beastman with his henchmen. Some of these pictures do vary in artwork. I know it says 2 different people, but still. Oh, there's the B guy. What's the name of the B guy? Buzz Off. Yes, because I'm a good guy. What's your name? Buzz Off. Only asking. Yeah. Cousin, I never had the Buzz-Off figure. Cousin mine did. It's one of these, quite again, interesting figure. It's got nice translucent wings. For some reason, he's got two lots of eyes. Sound like big ones, but then more human eyes there. But he's got, instead of hands, he's got claws. Really interesting thing, but yeah, it's a quite nice figure. Yeah, Snake Mountain being shown very much like the toy rather than what the cartoon did. Its cartoon did it as literally a tower of a mountain with a snake around it, which was part of Snake Mountain, but not fully. There's a nice image of Trapjaw. Trapjaw was like a cyborg mercenary that worked for Skeletor. Yeah, that is missing one arm, is replaced by a gun. Or rather, you had 3 different arms, I believe, that could attach. Like, one could be a gun arm or could be a claw arm or something like that. And what's interesting is this picture even shows one of the arms hanging from the belt, which is what you could do. You could hang the arms from the belt. So it's good that it's actually showing that. Yeah, a lot of the art's very basic, and it's greatly covered by most of the things going on the page. Because each page has got a lot of the text on it. Interesting. There's one that I would have expected to see here that I couldn't see. Would have expected to see Triclops. Which was another one of these figures that, it's weird, there's rumours that he's originally meant to be a hero, because there's like, the original box art did actually say heroic, but then it's never happened. Again, there were some characters that were changed during the points. The idea of Triclops, despite the name, which, they basically took the name to mean three-eyed. So it literally has 3 different eyes, each got a different expression, but the idea is meant to be that one could see through walls, one was like a laser beam or something. Yeah, you can swivel his head around, the head around, so 3 different eyes. Each of us has a different ability. Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of He-Man knowledge. Not a huge amount. Yeah, no Triclops. Interesting. There's, again, a few characters. Plus, they've got nothing. The artwork's not great, but it's competent. Yeah, the writing could be a lot better. I mean, I'll tell the guy not to give up his day job, but he was 18 when he wrote this, and wrote the other one, CLI and the Magic Stone, which wasn't He-Man, but I'm sure I must have that somewhere. So familiar. And yeah, he later went on to create Rebellion developments that most of the video games, and actually does quite a good job with 2000 AD. And some old comics they also brought out, so they do reissues of the old ones, and yeah, they're a relatively good company. Although I don't think I've actually played any of their video games. So yeah, that's something for you. So all in all, this is okay. It's classed as juvenile literature, yeah. Yeah, it's not a great amount in it, but there's some different playable bits. It's just the combat system, the dice rolling, is very weak. It could be done so much better. But that's what some of these things go by. It's a nice tie-in, it's kind of in character, so no real problems there. Alright, so next week, well, not next week, next time, we'll see what comes up there. So, thank you for listening.